One thing I love to do is just to allow whoever I invite onto the channel to introduce themselves and just offer a little bit of insight into their story. So welcome to Unschooling Discoveries, and when you're ready, please share a little bit about you and what's going on with you.
My name's Myfanwy Dibben. I have been home educating for a long time. Let's say 8 years. And I have a 14-year-old and an 8-year-old, 14-year-old girl and 8-year-old boy. I'm also a high school teacher, and I specialize in English and music, but try and avoid teaching music at all costs. I value my hearing. When I started home educating, I looked into, whenever I look into anything, I tend, or jump into anything, I tend to do a lot of research. So when my partner first suggested we home educate, which was when my daughter was about 1 year old, I looked into every method, every style, how it works in regards to different learning styles or different learning ways. And I started looking at the Well-Trained Mind and started reading it and threw the book out the door because I thought, my God, that's just bizarre. I couldn't do that. And then went into Montessori, went into Steiner, went into Charlotte Mason, went into natural learning, went into unschooling, looked at all of these different options. And I ended up coming back to the Well-Trained Mind with fresh eyes. And I thought, I get it, I understand now. And what I took away from it was not the whole shebang, because it's a lot. And over the 8 years, it's really something that I've reserved for primary years. I have really engaged with the idea of making the learning over a year be based on a historical period, which is what is the classical method. But I'm not doing all of the classical method. So I'm using the idea of the big idea of history and say, so for example, this year I did for the second time round this time with my son, for the first time round for him, medieval history. So we would use certain literature, we would use stories and folk tales and mythology from all over the world as the literature base, but based within that medieval period, mostly. And then I overlay on that science and art and music, and geography is just hand in hand with history. Mm-hmm. The mathematics is just wherever the child's up to, and English literature. And well, I do really like, this is maybe the high school English teacher in me, but it's also an adult who couldn't spell, was terrible at grammar, very low confidence in writing when I was a child all the way through high school. And it really wasn't until I educated my own daughter about 8 years ago, using the classical method, teaching her with All About Spelling program. I loved it, brilliant. The grammar program, first language lessons, really very good. And you can skip, and people go, oh, but there's so much repetition. Yeah, it's programmed repetition. You just skip it. If the child's got it, you move on. Yeah. And after I did all of those things, my confidence in my own spelling and writing and ability to express myself went through the roof. So with that experienced knowledge, I now really appreciate having really solid grounding for spelling and grammar. And then the rest just comes. So fine focus on history, literature through historical view, mm-hmm. a solid basis on grammar and spelling, but not in a school at home style, not at all. So that's basically me. I'm a bit of a hodgepodge.
Okay. So when you say not school-based, how then do you implement this way that you structure?
It takes 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes to do, or 10 minutes. Does it even take that long? 10 minutes to do a first language lesson, grammar lesson. A noun is the name of a person, place, thing, or idea, whatever. Now find a noun in a book. That's it. That's a lesson. And that's invaluable. Just that little 10 minutes a day or every other day will create the foundation for a really literate child, I think, in my experience. I have got a really wordy child. Pi was my oldest daughter. She really loved reading and was totally into the narrative. My son is just starting at 8 to really get into reading and wanting to go to the library a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. I'm pleased, but I haven't been pushing anything too much. I'm really not too pushy. I couldn't be pushy with my daughter. That would be impossible. She was an Irish woman to the core with the massive chip on her shoulder. Thanks, Dad. I'm not Irish. But, you know, she was not a child that I could tell what to do. So it was a lot of maneuvering and cajoling and sneaky teaching and very creative kind of ways of getting these kinds of foundational skills in place. And
so share with me what's a cheeky, sneaky sort of learning lesson that you might have done in her.
Oh, man. So, all right, just music. So off the top of my head, we're watching a film. I'm a music teacher, so I know I can speak fluently the language of music. So, for example, we'll watch a film, and I will start articulating the 6 different concepts of music, and then delving down into each concept, not laboriously, just like if one is featured in a piece of music in the opening credits of a film, I'll go, oh, listen to that duration, which is a concept of music. It's really fast. What do you think that means? Oh, anticipation. And then we can talk about the narrative development using sound. And, you know, I'll add language to it. And if you use the language, the children will absorb it. And that's my idea. So I try and just, anytime there's something that triggers, yeah, we've been working on that language, I'll use it. That's basically what I do. We don't sit down writing spelling lists or things like that. That did not work for me as a child. I don't think I ever got off 30 words as my quota of words in grade 1 or 2. I was hopelessly left behind in spelling. You know, but then I saw the kids next to me who had like 80 or 90 words they had to do for homework each week, and I went, so I'm winning. I don't have as much homework as you. I can't spell, but, you know, who cares? My time is my own. But, yeah, so sneaky is, gosh, there's the classic when you're doing maths, you do measurements through practical application when you're cooking, or geography. If I'm going to somewhere in Sydney, because I'm 2 hours south, and I had my daughter with me one time, I got her to do all the navigation using the map. But she had to be the voice. She had to give me the direction.
Yeah.
So that ticks English, that ticks geography, that teaches graphic organisers, which is the map. It teaches timing. It teaches articulation with your voice. It's so much that you can extrude out of a single. That is education.
You and I very much think on the same page. It's like life learning practical moments and translate them into skills that are usable, relatable, and be it from a page or a story that they might be reading, or a movie that they might be watching, piece of music that they've listened to. It's all in its own way education, and
yes,
to tune it into what they enjoy is that magic formula, I believe.
Brilliant. So one of the things that I do to really hook the child into literature is, so in the first year of primary, I do a series of novels. And what did I do? So the first year we were studying ancient history, It wasn't really ancient history, but we shoved it in there anyway, which was Harry Potter series. So we can say it was an anticipation of the medieval period, which is reflected throughout the narrative. Okay, fine. However you want to justify it, we did that. On top of the literature like the Odyssey, which is a great there's great retelling for children, and it is, you know, enthralling. Or Beowulf, which is, we've got another children's version of that, and various other, you know, mythological stories. But the really exciting narrative and long narrative was Harry Potter. And, you know, it depends on how mature your child is as to whether or not they can cope at that age, which is 6, 7. But no, both kids were fine. They're quite mature really for their age. But I did that, which absolutely hooked both my children into, I want more of that stuff.
Yes.
So then the next year we did, because it's medieval period, we did The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know, you slot it in however you can. That is other shorter stories relating to the medieval period, which, you know, we put through, like Canterbury's Tales. Various literature that is medieval period, but it's having those really great novels thrown in, and then everything else comes from behind that or around it. That makes it really, really, I think, sparks that excitement about reading. And if your child can read, they can learn anything they put their mind to. So as far as I'm concerned, once they're reading, they're good.
I agree. So I wanted to touch on a couple of other things with you. For new beginners into home education, understanding where their kids are at in their learning levels, and
so do you mean like a child that comes from a primary school already, or just starting out from baby?
A school, because I know that a lot of families transitioned through COVID from their kids already being at school. So I think this is a really poignant subject.
Yeah, it is a big difference. If you're home educating from the start, you just don't have any of those expectations of, well, no, that's not entirely true, because you was most people were schooled in an institution, as I was. But if you're starting from birth, then it's just a continuation of that lifestyle. There's really not much layers. But with transitioning from school is a big change for your family life, your lifestyle. Every single aspect of your life is going to change. Especially if you weren't a stay-at-home mum or something like that, if you were working as well, or if you are trying to continue to work at home maybe, or juggling like I juggle. It can be a big change. And I think, I mean, they always, whenever you're looking on Facebook, they're always talking about having a period of, well, what do they call it? Not unschooling, but deschooling.
Deschooling, yeah.
And it's just, all it is giving a label to the idea of letting go and just observing the child, asking the child, having a dialogue with the child, having a dialogue with yourself about what you think is important, what primary things motivate you. You have to respect your home culture, where you come from, in order to be a successful home educator. If you're not true to your culture, then you're not being authentic, and you can't keep up that charade for years on end. You have to be. So if you're a cranky mum, well, you know, you need to fix that. But you need to work out why you're cranky, just like the kids. If the kids are cranky, then you need to work out what's upsetting those kids, and then adjust whatever you're doing each day to attain the sort of ideas you have on what your child should be doing or how your life should be evolving. And it's really it's so simple. It sounds so simple, but it's really just finding what makes you happy. So if you can find what makes you all happy in the family, and it's a juggling act, then you can manipulate your day to make sure that each person's needs are accounted for. Now, a mum who is thinking about home educating their grade 5 child will just think, well, yeah, she hasn't said anything. That's because it's so personal, it's so individual, it's very difficult to generalize this kind of lifestyle change. And you just can't compare your life to your friends who've got their kids at school. You just can't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, home educators and then school people are just chalk and cheese as far as I'm concerned. And I teach in the high school system, so I've got a leg in both, areas. Pains me to teach sometimes when I'm left with something just abominable to deliver as a casual teacher. But I just try and shake it up as much as I can and make it as homey as I can at school. But it's very chalk and cheese, unfortunately. I don't require my child to stop reading because the bell's gone. I don't require my child to put down the paintbrush because it's lunchtime. Bugger lunch. You can eat while you're doing it. Whatever. It just doesn't. There's no comparison, So, yeah, I hope that answers that question. Yeah, just expect everything to be different. In a good way, really good way. It's freedom. It's a freedom of choice. It's a freedom to live your life the way you want to live without these imposed goddamn deadlines every day. You've got to get this. I mean, I've sent my kids to school. We had a gap year in 2018, which may be a nice segue. But in 2018, I did a gap year where I sent the kids to school. My daughter sat a test to have a go in the opportunity class, and she got in, and it was a full-time opportunity class. That was good. It was the nicest sort of school experience she could get because she would have had a quieter classroom compared to all the others, and she likes it quiet. And she was listening through. Well, she didn't even need to tap her ear. It was so damn loud in the classroom next door. My son was in kindy that year, so they had that experience of schooling. They both chose to home educate after that. I was working full-time teaching in special needs unit, and I was also being sued by the HEA, which was weird. That was a crazy year. I mean, maybe if I wasn't being sued by other home educators, which was just nonsensical, it wouldn't have been quite as stressful as it was. But the day-to-day routine of school, I found it to be onerous. I found it to be like a big sort of weight I had to carry on my shoulders all year, thinking, okay, what have I got to do next? Have I got a uniform clean? Oh my God, where's the lunch? I can't remember what I'm doing now. Did you do that home? I don't care. It's just ridiculous.
It's chaos.
No,
I get
thanks.
it.
No, thanks. Let me take responsibility. I'd much rather do that.
Touche, I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.